Hi everyone and welcome back to the Lana Blakely podcast. And this is going to be a very laid back episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, which by the way, I don't think I announced this last week. The podcast is now available on YouTube as well. So the Lana Blakely podcast channel. If you are more into video format, which I am, typically if I'm going to listen to a podcast while if I'm eating and I want to watch something, I would gladly watch a podcast on YouTube, but I can't really get myself to just listen to a podcast and eat. I have to be watching something because, we're just addicted to the dopamine and the constant stimulation. Nothing is enough anymore. We need to listen, hear, feel, as we're eating and as we're texting and as we're calling and as we're making plans and being in meetings. Maybe I should do a dopamine detox thingy. I don't know. Anyway, this is going to be the final episode for this season. I think it's episode, where are we at? I think it's 14 or 15 now, which is good. I'm happy about that. I'm happy that I've been showing up every week to record these episodes, and it's been enjoyable, and I'll be back again for 2022. So this week I want to talk about New Year's resolutions, I guess, new year, new me, that whole spiel, and share my thoughts on it. So I've always loved bucket lists and New Year's resolution lists and goals lists. And I'm just a very planny, goaly type of person. I think it's fun. And also I feel like it gives some sort of a guidance. But I think sometimes there's a bit of a danger there where we might feel like in making goals, we are accomplishing something, when in reality, simply making a list of things that you want to accomplish is exactly just that. It's just a list. It's not you actually, quote unquote, doing or achieving or getting closer to the thing that you want. So I feel like sometimes we make these lists and we make these lists because we feel accomplished simply by making the list. And we feel kind of maybe even some adrenaline where we're like, yeah, I have a bucket list and I want to do this and this and this next year. And even just by making that list, we feel good. And that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with feeling good. But then oftentimes what happens is we kind of feel pleased with the rush that we got from simply making the list and making the plans, that we don't really bother actually doing the thing. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, I'm speaking for myself here. Sometimes it's happened to me, I think on several occasions, where I make a list of things that I want to do, accomplish, experience, and there's almost more joy in the planning process than there is in actually doing the damn thing. So I don't really know how I feel about these plans and promises and lists at this point. I feel like at this point, if I'm going to make a New Year's resolution list, there needs to be more of an action plan and not just I want to start meditating. I don't feel like that's going to be enough. I feel there needs to be more context, more information. How am I going to do it? Where am I going to do it? Am I going to be following a tutorial? How often? To make it more actionable rather than this abstract thing that I want to do. And that's why I think, because in my last video I talked about my Notion setup and how I'm going about a page called the self-nurturing page, where every day I want to feel encouraged to keep track of how I'm taking care of myself, because that's something that I've been lacking this year. And I've split it into 6 different parts of call it self-care, call it health, call it wellness, where it's, physical health, mental health, spiritual health, social health, and whatnot. And every day I want to make sure, or at least feel encouraged, to do at least one thing within each category. If this sounds a bit unclear to you, I encourage you to watch the video that I made. It's called, what is it called? How I'm Planning for 2022 or something like that. So I feel like that's more actionable instead of being like, I want to focus on self-care. It's, it's more detailed and it's broken down to the point where it's more easy to actually obtain and to do. But I do, generally speaking, like a fresh start. And some people are like, it's just a new day, New Year's is just another Tuesday or another Wednesday. And sure, I mean, I can see that. But also, I like that. I like the fresh start feeling. That's why I like Mondays, for example. Even though it's just another day of the week, it's still this feeling of a new beginning, like a fresh start in a sense. I think the reason some people don't like that is because they feel like if you see New Year's or Monday or the first of each month, how we're like, starting the 1st of March, I'm going to be working out. We're always waiting for like the 1st of the month or the new year or the Monday or whatnot. And one reason I think some people don't like that is because it makes it sound like you need to wait for a certain day to start doing something, when in reality you don't. I mean, it is really just another day. So if you want to stop smoking, or if you want to start exercising, or you want to get into journaling, there isn't really a reason to wait for a specific date or a day. But if that helps you, if you are the type of person who likes the fresh start, the new beginning type of vibe, then why not? Who cares? If you want to wait for the 1st of January or the 1st of February, that's fine. You can do that. Or if you're someone who's like, I don't want to be the type of person who has to wait for a specific date. I want to start tomorrow. Great. Then you can start tomorrow. Everyone is different, and that's fine. So one thing that I've learned from New Year's resolutions and from, wanting to accomplish things and whatnot is that we often tend to set goals that are too high. I think that anything that we want to do, well, not anything, and I'll get back to that, but oftentimes when we want to do something, like when you want to get into good habits, or you want to quit a bad habit, or you want to become more social, or, whatever your goal, I guess, is that we often tend to set the bar too high to where we quickly feel drained and exhausted, and it just kind of kills off the motivation. I think the best way, at least for me, to go about things is to set the bar pretty low. So if I'm like, I want to become cleaner, I want to clean more, I want to keep my space more neat and nice looking, or my desk or whatever. I'm not going to go and say, every day I'm going to be vacuuming and I'm going to be cleaning the windows and I'm going to be dusting the walls in my closet. No, I'm going to be like, every day I'm going to pick up one thing. It's a small task. It should be attainable. And that's where I'm going to start. Baby steps in the long run are better than monstrous steps, but short term. You're going to get further ahead if you are taking baby steps, but you're taking them every day for like years, as opposed to if you're taking monster steps, but you're just doing it for 3 weeks. The baby steps are eventually gonna get ahead. That's my belief. And that, again, does not work for everyone. Some people are very like all or nothing. They're like, I need to get go all in with this thing, or else I'm not going to do it. Again, whatever floats your boat may not float my boat, may not float his boat or her boat. So while, I'm sitting here sort of offering some personal insight and thoughts and, in a way, guidance, with every piece of advice and guidance that we receive, I think it's best to see it as just testing out the waters. So we always need to feel for ourselves what works for me, what's going to work in my situation. Someone's road to XYZ is not necessarily going to be your road. You may be able to apply some of their advice and guidance to your life and to your road, but it's not necessarily going to be the exact copy of the way that they did things. And the way that relates to what I'm talking about with the new year is just because someone is like, I'm going to start going to the gym 5 times a week. And maybe that's going to work for them. Maybe it's not going to work for you. You can try that, because if you don't try it, you're not going to find out if it works for you or not. But don't be bummed when someone else's path looks different from your path. Yeah, I guess that's what I wanted to say about that. So back to New Year's resolutions. I like setting my resolutions. I like for them to be highs and lows. So smaller things like, I want to, what's an example of something? I actually haven't made my list yet, but something like every time I use utensils or a cup or a plate, I want to wash it right away. I don't want my dishes to pile up. That's like a pretty small promise to make to myself. That's rather attainable. So that would be something small. Like, I do not want my dishes to pile up next year. I want to be someone who uses a cup, like my coffee cup right here. Let me take a sip. It's cold now. And I want to wash it right away. And then something bigger, something that is going to have more influence on your life. So something like that might be, at the top of my head, like quitting a bad habit, like quitting smoking. I'm not a smoker, but that's just an example. I know a lot of people are struggling with smoking and quitting bad habits of that sort. That's obviously something pretty big. And more, I guess, impactful than washing your cup every time. So I think mixing highs and lows and creating that sort of nuance is important, because it makes the more intimidating parts of your New Year's resolution list, and it makes them feel less intimidating. And it makes the less intimidating tasks feel more important because they're mixed with each other. And also, I want to touch on this thing where, while I think it's good to push yourself to a certain extent, because, eventually or ultimately, that's how you kind of get things done, right? Like, if you have an exam in school and you're not pushing yourself at all, you're just laying there and not wanting to push yourself in any way, you're probably not going to do great on that exam. So to, succeed, quote unquote, or to get the things that we want, or to pass, whatever it is that we're talking about, pushing yourself is often required, right? To some extent. But also, I don't think it's good necessarily to put so much pressure on ourselves that we no longer enjoy what we're doing. Because once there is too much pressure and we kind of get lost and we lose sight of why we're doing the things that we're doing, that's when things get really tough. and everything starts to feel like a task, like something that we have to do. If you go to college, let's say, and you go there hopefully for a good reason because you are studying something that you find interesting and valuable and something that you would like to pursue later in life. And obviously, college can be really tough. I've been to college myself. I know that sometimes you just question everything and you're like, what am I doing here? Why am I here? This is nothing short of painful and tough, and everything becomes questionable. I understand that. But I think one thing that contributes to everything becoming so difficult is when we lose sight of why we're doing the things that we're doing, because we become so focused on just accomplishing task after task after task after task. So, relating to the New Year's resolution list, I think if you set up a goal for yourself or something that you want to do or stop doing, try, in my experience, it benefits in focusing more on the process there, like the path there, rather than being so focused in on the final destination and like the final goal. To remind yourself of why you're doing this and why the steps to get there are actually valuable and useful and helpful and part of the process. And that's the reason why, when we want to start working out, we oftentimes give up. The 1st of January is probably maybe not the first, but like the first and second week of January, the gyms are always packed because everyone is in their A game. They're like, I'm going to get ripped this year and I'm going to become super healthy and muscular and toned or whatever people's goals are. But then we either just get lazy or we're like, I'm not seeing any results. Where is my six pack? I came here to get the abs and to get the biceps and whatnot. And then we're not as quickly as we had hoped. There's this, I guess it's a meme now where, you work out once, you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, where are my abs? I thought I was going to do 20 push-ups and I was going to start seeing definition. And obviously that's not how it works unless you're like incredibly, incredibly genetically blessed, which, some people are. But oftentimes things require time. And I think when we are so focused in on the goal, the time that it takes is going to feel a lot more painful and we're not going to be enjoying the process and the journey at all. And oftentimes that leads to us just completely giving up. So I guess the key takeaway from that is patience and trusting the process, which is difficult. I know, like it sounds easy. I'll just be patient and trust the process, but I know it can be difficult. If it wasn't difficult, everyone would be doing it. Everyone would be healthy and ripped and or whatever people's goals are with working out, and no one would have any bad habits and everyone would just be, their quote unquote ideal selves, whatever that is, and if it even exists. But that's for a different discussion. So that's what I'm taking with me when I am writing my New Year's resolutions, that anything that I write needs to be accompanied by patience and trust in the process. And ask yourself what you need to take with you, what you need when you are sitting there writing down or just thinking about the things that you want to do or that you want to quit doing. What do you need in your tool bag? What do you need in your backpack as you are traveling on your road that is unique to you? All right. Let's wrap up this final episode of season 1 of the Lawn of Lately podcast. It's been a blast. Thank you so much to everyone who's been tuning in every single week and for sending me messages and for rating and reviewing this podcast. And I'm super stoked for next year and for where this podcast may go. Thank you. Have a great New Year's Eve. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. And I'll see you on YouTube. I mean, I'm still uploading on YouTube, so don't go anywhere. But as for the podcast, I will see you again next year. All right. Bye.